Hi, I'm Ken Lammers. Welcome to Minor League Matters. And today we're going to discuss the general framework of affiliated minor league baseball and specifically the AAA leagues. And with that, let's get cracking. Okay, so today we're going to talk about AAA baseball, right? Now, for those of you who don't know, baseball, of course, is at the top. There's Major League Baseball, which theoretically has two leagues. National League, which is all that's true and righteous and good in the world, and the American League, which exists. The reality is, however, that they're one league nowadays. So National and American League are pretty much just a way of breaking it up for the final playoffs anymore. Below that, there are several levels. The top level is AAA. Below that's AA. Below that is High A. Below that is just A. Below that, Short Season A. And below that's Rookie League, Advanced Rookie League. And below that are Rookie Leagues, Complex Leagues. Now, AAA system is the highest level just short of the majors. It's where your really good players end up, waiting to see if they can get into major leagues. There's various different types of people that end up, and among them are, the hot shot who's on his way through and spends a month in Memphis playing for the Memphis Redbirds before he moves to St. Louis, because he just needs to play up and keep moving up the system, prove he can, but he ain't staying anywhere too long. Then you got the guys who've worked their way through the whole system, have been around for a while, and are just they're good enough to play in the majors, but they're not good enough to be a superstar, but they're good enough to play, and they're just kind of sitting around waiting to see if something's going to open up for them. These guys are really good players. They're just haven't been able to crack into the majors yet. And then there are the guys who are stuck in the minor leagues, really good players that are stuck in AAA because the mothership, Cincinnati Reds, Los Angeles Dodgers, San Francisco Giants, whomever, have a really good player in front of them. So there's a guy who's a good second baseman, right? But he's getting AAA pay. And in front of him is a player who's just as good or maybe a little bit better, maybe a little bit worse in the majors, who's got a really high-paying contract, right? And they're not going to pull this guy out of AAA up until the majors and sit the guy who's getting paid 10 times what he is, just because the guy in AAA is a little bit better. He hasn't built the fan base. He's not got people chanting his name when he comes up to bat like the guy who's already in the pros, the majors, does. He's just, and you never know when somebody moves from AAA to the majors. They may not succeed. They may flop. And you've got a guy in the majors who's already playing at a successful level. So there's these guys that get trapped. In the past, this was notorious for, say, like, New York, where you had really good players in the majors. Your guy in AAA, unless he was just amazing, he's not going to make it. He's going to sit in AAA forever. And that's kind of what you see in the AAAs. You do, I think, also see some people who've been around forever, who are being kept around because they're good for the team and good for teaching younger players and all that sort of thing. And those guys sit at AAA for some time, sometimes for years, and occasionally if their major league team does right by them, they get pulled up and play in the majors some and get the extra paycheck and the nicer hotels and that sort of thing, occasionally. But that's pretty much who you see in AAA. It's high quality games, right? And, in accordance with the fact that they're high quality games, you get really good stadiums. Actually, my experience has been that at least the newer AAA stadiums are better than a lot of major league stadiums. I've been to a lot of major league, or not a lot of minor league AAA stadiums that are better than Detroit's, right? That's just it's hard to stick 30,000 or 40,000 or whatever number of people you've got in your stadium and service that crowd anywhere near as well as you do a 10,000 person stadium in a AAA city. On top of which most of the AAA stadiums are newer. So it's a good experience to go watch a AAA game. Now, what is AAA broken down like? AAA is broken down into two leagues, just like the American and National League in majors, although an affiliated team isn't necessarily tied to either. An affiliated team for a American League team can be either in either of the leagues in AAA. Same thing for National; they can be in either leagues in AAA. The national or the two leagues in AAA are the International League, which is the one that you've probably heard of teams that are in the International League. This would be the Durham Bulls, the Indianapolis Indians, the Toledo Mud Hens. These are teams that a lot of people have heard about, right? Through movies, TV shows, etc., and that have been around for a long time. So the International League is basically east of Tennessee, east and north of Tennessee, right? I think also maybe south, but east of Tennessee. And the other league is Pacific Coast League, which is a deceptive name because it's not all on the Pacific Coast. They're all through Arizona and that sort of thing, and Nevada, and it comes as far east as Tennessee, Nashville to be precise, where the Nashville Sounds are in the Pacific Coast League, as is the Memphis Redbirds. They're in the Pacific Coast League as well. So it is, broke down like that. The Pacific Coast League, probably because they have a lot higher altitude out there, in most of the teams, is where pitchers are supposed to go to die. It's a batter's heaven, right? The International League, on the other hand, has more of a reputation as to where you send a pitcher if you really want him, to perfect his slider, curveball, sinker, knuckleball, whatever, as well as his fastball. It's more of a pitching type of league. And so at the end of every year, the International and the Pacific Coast League have a one-game playoff that's at a designated stadium in wherever they've designated it that year. It's not at either team's particular stadium. And they play off one game, and the winner takes all and is the AAA champion, right? And it's actually fun. It's a good thing for those who are in AAA. It's a little bit problematic sometimes because by that time, the major league team, especially if it's making a run for a championship, will have yanked 3 or 4 or 5 of the best players who have made that, AAA team a great team. And so the team that shows up for the one-game playoff may not have been the team that won 92 games all year long, right? So but it's still fun. It's a good idea. It's the only level below the major leagues that actually has a championship game. So bravo to them. And so that explains the AAA leagues in kind of a quick summary. If you have any questions, leave them in the down below. I may answer them, probably won't, but I will read them. As always, if you like, subscribe, and if you really like, click the like button. And I will see you next time. Go out and watch some minor league sports.